Success isn't always taught. Sometimes it's just caught, being in that atmosphere. And so, like I said, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And so if you're hanging out all of a sudden with 5 millionaires on a regular basis, there's no coincidence why there's good chance.
Hello, you're listening to Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast, presented by Brandon Elliott. This show will be going over all aspects of real estate investing and is intended to educate, motivate, and prepare you to take action on your first or next real estate investment. For more information, please visit BrandonElliottInvestments.com. Thank you for listening and enjoy.
Welcome back, everyone, to Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Brandon Elliott. I'm excited to be with you here today. I got out of church just a little bit ago, and there was a lot of things that were said that really prompted me to do this live message right now. And while 2025 is right around the corner, when this airs, it's going to be just a few days out. It's exciting. There's a lot of energy in the atmosphere. And at the end of the day, we just got done celebrating the holidays, Christmas, Thanksgiving, and just being around some loved ones, friends, family, and get a little bit of time off potentially. And from working your butt off this year, like, we've all earned it, and we've got to a place that there was crazy elections going on. There was crazy, just, the economy and all these, the wars and everything else going on right now. There's a lot to just sit back in gratitude and be grateful for, but acknowledging that, if your personality type is similar to mine, I've acknowledged that I'm more pessimistic and negative in the moment, but more optimistic about the future. And so it's important to kind of dial things in, because Jen is more my wife, my better half. She is more optimistic in the present, but doesn't necessarily think too much about the future. She thinks more about the past and dwells on the past. And so it's important to realize, like, how does your brain work? How do you think naturally? Like, thinking back this whole last 12 months, for 2024, it's been an incredible year. There's been a lot of growth, a lot of changes, a lot of challenges, a lot of perseverance, a lot of overcoming things that you might have looked in the mirror and, if you would have told your year ago self that you would have been able to accomplish some of the things that you did, you might have been like, wow, that's incredible. I don't even believe it. Or you might have been on the other end of that and you're like, hey, what the heck happened? I had these big goals. I had these incredible intentions, and something shifted. Something went wrong. It didn't go as planned. How do you learn from this past 12 months, this last year, and how do you actually start pivoting to not make similar mistakes, or to be able to just learn from what you've already gone through, what you've already been there and done, and actually set yourself up for the most incredible, like, life-changing experience for 2025, the best year yet coming up for yourself? Because I think there's a lot to be optimistic for, and without my natural personality of always being optimistic about the future, really, I think there is a lot of incredible changes, but I think there's a lot of, if you want to dwell on negative things, which it is a choice at the end of the day, there's going to be some difficult times too, I bet, coming into 2025, especially when it comes down to the growth that you may desire in your life. And this year there's been growth. Even just the last 6 months, there's been stretching. There's been some of my most challenging times as a business owner in just the last 6 months, if I was being brutally honest with you. And so you'll always get the raw and transparent self of me, by the way. It's in my New Jersey blood, DNA. But at the end of the day, it's important to actually look back and realize, I asked for this. I signed up for this. I asked to get to that next level and to beef up our team and to get stronger. And it's like, to get stronger, you have to break down a muscle. You have to stretch a muscle. And so there's not like a coincidence here of why there's some pulling and stretching and uncomfortableness and some soreness, if you will. Like, there is some challenging times that you may be going through just like we are, but for the simple fact that we are determined to overcome this, and I wouldn't want it any other way. If I'm really brutally honest with myself, yeah, it sucks in the moment. It doesn't feel good in that season, but it's exactly what I need to be able to prepare myself for what I desire and what I'm called to do. And so if you can acknowledge that and just sit with it for a second, then you can say, okay, God, like, what are you trying to show up and show off to in this season for me right now? And when you ask yourself that, and then you start focusing on more of the gratitude, the appreciation, the simple fact that what you've been through this year has been incredible. And you got to count the small little things so that you can appreciate the big things. But at the end of the day, it's imperative that you acknowledge some of the gratitude and the good feelings and like what you've been through and what you've accomplished so that you can realize like, wow, okay. Because a lot of us dwell on all the negative way too long, even just fear related, things that could happen, but realistically, if you're really blunt with yourself or look back, the things that you have a lot of fear over, even just statistically, it states that most of those things aren't going to come to fruition. It's not going to come to pass. So those things that you're fearing over and dwelling over, losing sleep over, fighting over, getting into arguments over, like those things may not even come to pass. And so you're taking up all this mental energy, this negative energy, and like just spinning the wheel here for what? For time to pass and for like this too shall pass. It will be over in a matter of time. And then it's something else. But when we get a win, a celebration, a like something that we've been fighting for and dreaming for and praying for, and once we accomplish that, it's more like a check off the box, especially for guys, I feel like, and possibly women as well. But for guys, we can get into that routine of like, well, it's on the list. It's on the to-do list. I got to check off the box. And I think it's important to spend some more quality time with ourselves so that we can dwell on some of these good things. And remember during the seasons and the times that we were stressing out over it or praying into it or freaking out over it and like, begging God to really show up in certain areas, like in certain times like that, when we were really hoping for it and praying for it and working our butts off towards it. Once we hit the end goal, we're just like, cool, check it off. Whew, done. Now I can move on to something else on my list without actually giving the respect that it deserves. I'm like, dude, like I went through some shit to be able to get there. This is an amazing, incredible moment that we should really ponder on for a little bit longer than just like a couple moments of like, whoo, that feels good. And start flipping the script on how we direct our time and attention. Because again, we spend so much on the negative dwelling information. We have anywhere from 60,000 to 80,000 thoughts per day, they say. And a good handful of them, I believe they say it's about 80%, tend to be negative. That's a lot of thoughts, number one. Number two, that's a lot of negativity, my friend. And if you grew up like me in a negative atmosphere like New Jersey, like a lot of stinking thinking in the neighborhood, it's very common that, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And if you're spending a lot of time with just yourself in your negative ass mindset, brain, and just you're all in your head, it's like, yeah, there's a lot of negativity going on that's not serving you. So let's start actually just being aware of it, like mindfulness of being aware of what the heck's going on, number one. And then number two, how do we actually, once we acknowledge what's going on, how do we actually try to do our best to flip that script? And so I wanted to share a couple points here for stepping into the most incredible year of your life in 2025, but being with intention. Because, there's people even in our life, they've been praying for change. They've been wanting change. They've been stating verbally that they desire this change so freaking bad, but then their actions show differently. And if that resonates, then I'm speaking to you. And if it doesn't resonate, then that's okay too. Maybe you know somebody, okay? But long story short here, it's like we've had people that have been praying. Let me just give an example. We've had people praying good friends of ours, praying for like a significant other to be able, I'm trying to not to give too much away here. A woman, a good friend of ours, childhood friend, she ends up, trying to pray for a man, a good man, and not just finding all these guys on Tinder and all this other nonsense, but actually find like a good man, a Christian man, and so forth, and somebody that can lead her and guide her and make sure that they're aligned and growing together instead of all these bad relationships that she's been in the past. And we're all for it. We're praying with her. We're declaring it. We're hoping that is going to come to fruition. But then we start actually looking back into it, and we're like, well, what seeds are you planting to actually make this come true? Because, and what made me think about this was in church today, our pastor was saying like, hey, we could pray with you, we could declare it, we could sprinkle holy oil and fragrance, and we could like have everybody in the church pray and declare and give, holy angels come down and give breakthroughs over your situation with the Holy Spirit and all. Praying that this orange tree is going to turn into a lemon tree. And if at the end of the day, you keep on praying for that and keep on praying for it, that's all fine and dandy. But like, if you never actually change the seed in the ground to a lemon tree, then how the heck is that orange ever going to have the opportunity to change? And so it's not going to change. That orange isn't going to change into a lemon tree, even though you want it, even though you're praying for it, like, try to work spells and everything on it. It's not going to work until you actually start getting some lemon seeds and putting it into the ground, and then start working, start praying into it, start doing the actual steps needed to make sure that it's growing in that direction. Like, give every alley-oop for this to make sense, because there's so many other obstacles within life that could hold anything back, right? But so it made me think of this friend of ours that, one's a godly man, has been praying for it, tired of all this chaos in the world, but isn't showing up to church. Stays out late night on Saturdays or Fridays and goes clubbing. Spends all the money there, works, jobs that she's not happy with or proud of during the week. And then afterwards is just frustrated with like not finding this individual, and then swiping on Tinder all day and finding all these other people that just want to be with her for like a one night stand type of thing. And so you're searching in the wrong areas. It's like, yeah, could you find your significant other at the club? Sure. Is it likely? I would say it's probably not necessarily the character that you may want to find yourself with. Just potentially, like, would you find them possibly more if you're looking for a godly man, you probably should look in godly areas. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe a church. So I'm just saying for examples, and I know this is a broad, generic type of example, but you could use this for anything. Like if you were looking to grow and scale your business, like, are you getting mentorship? Are you putting yourself in atmospheres where there's other people with successful businesses, even just a level or two above you? You don't need to be, talking with Elon Musk or Warren Buffett. Like, you can sit with somebody that's just making a couple $100,000 if you're making less than 100,000. You know what I'm saying? It's like you could just focus on people that are just a couple steps ahead of you that could really help by success leaving clues. Success isn't always taught. Sometimes it's just caught, being in that atmosphere. And so, like I said, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And so if you're hanging out all of a sudden with 5 millionaires on a regular basis, there's no coincidence why there's good chances over time you'll become that next. You'll become that 6. And so it's very important that you don't like take this lightly, but actually start, like, if you're praying for it, desiring it, wanting it, understand that it's going to take some action on your end too to be able to give God the alley-oop so he can slam dunk it and really make sure that all the other negative things are being held back while you persevere through any obstacles, because it's a two-way street, and like you definitely got to meet anybody halfway. And so when you're investing, even just in like Credit Counsel Elite, for example, we don't have a do it for you service. But what we do have is actionable items and a proven system, a proven strategy that totally works. It does. How do we know that? Because we've had way too many people succeed at it. Have we had people not succeed at it? Of course. And it comes down to a two-way street. There's some kind of miscommunication that takes place in that. And it's either, and it could definitely be us. It could be. Like, it's not always a good fit. But when it comes down to learning, how do you learn? Are you asking questions? Are you showing up? It's not just a course. Like, you got to take action. You got to meet us. You got to ask us questions. You got to reach out. And when you do that and you take action afterwards, and we guide you, we hold you accountable, we hold your hand through the process, we connect you with resources, like, you can get incredible results. And we've seen it way too many times. We just have. And so we know wholeheartedly and boldly, like, it does work, but it only works if you work it. And if you actually implement these things. And that's the same exact story. It's the same exact results in everything that you do. Like, you can't outsource your push-ups. We live in a society right now that everybody wants, like, the easy, quick pill, the magic pill, like, get Botox, it'll make you look better or whatever. I see guys doing it now on social media that are literally saying for health benefits. It's like, what health benefit? Who sold you this BS dream? Who sold you? And I don't know. I haven't done enough research, but I'm not doing it anytime soon. You know what I'm saying? It's like God designed me exactly how I'm supposed to be. And the same exact thing with you. You are perfect in God's images. And so I think it's important to realize, like, hey, if you want something in life, do you really want it? Because I thought I wanted growth and scaling and building this huge mega business. And I still acknowledge that I do. But in this season, the last 6 months, it's like, yikes, I didn't realize that's what I'm signing up for. You know, it was a stretch. It's still a stretch, but it's a good feeling because I still have faith. I still have the plan. We're adapting, we're changing on a pivot. I could never, ever work for somebody else. I just couldn't. I'm thinking to myself right now of like, man, worst case scenario, always like pessimistic in the moment. Worst case scenario, what the hell am I going to do? Okay, what am I going to do? I could never work for somebody else. I just couldn't. And if you are tired of working for somebody else right now, it's not always like as bad as you want, or it sounds cool to be an entrepreneur. Trust me, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Not everybody's meant for that. Sometimes you're just meant and like prosper in a good position underneath somebody and helping towards their goals and dreams. And you just crush it at it. You help them excel and exceed and you know, above and abundantly, and it blesses you as well. And that's totally okay. So just acknowledging, where are you happy? Or are you, if you're not happy right now at your day job or your night job or any job or whatever you're doing, if you're not happy with what you've done the last 12 months and you acknowledge like enough is enough, then what are you declaring that's going to change for 2025? And what do those steps look like? And are you truly prepared for it? Because talk is cheap. It's easy to say like, oh yeah, I want those things. I want that. I want that good person in my life. But are you willing to do what it takes? Are you willing to work the long extra hours? Are you willing to sacrifice holidays? Like we were working on Christmas and we took half day to just celebrate as well. But it's like, we already celebrated Christmas a few days before on a Sunday with our friends and family. But on Christmas, it was in the middle of the week and we just wanted to have that competitive edge. And we are, you know, as a business owner, you always have something to do. You always feel like you're behind. And so giving yourself some grace of like, hey, we're always going to have something to do. And that's okay. We will get things done when we get things done. We're going to put fires out as we go. And the whole goal is get to a position and a place where you can elevate and delegate. When you are underwater and you're like kind of drowning a little bit, like sometimes you just need to work your butt off to keep paddling and keep yourself afloat. And then once you start getting, you know, the floaties up and you guys are cruising, then it's like, okay, now I can, my head's above water and I can start talking and let me start seeing who else wants to be recruited and work for this and be a part of this team and understand the vision, understand what we're doing. And at that point, then maybe it's a good season for you to start systemizing and elevating and delegating so that you can be able to get to a point where the boat is still going and you don't need to be desperately swimming. You could be sleeping and everything's good, And so I just encourage folks, figure out, what was 2024 like for you? Was it good? Was it bad? Was it indifferent? Are you to a point now, finally, you're like, hey, enough is enough. I'm ready. I'm ready to take 2025 to the next level. I got some big ass goals. I'm tired of having opportunities pass me by. I'm tired of not being prepared and positioned for it. And right now I'm in a season that I know it's going to take work. I know it's not going to be easy. I know it's going to be uncomfortable. And I know that there's going to be stretching going on, but I deserve it and I'm qualified and I'm willing to put in the overtime. I'm willing to put in the work. I'm willing to go above and beyond, and I can sleep when I'm dead. I can sleep later on. I can put in a couple seasons right now of working aggressively to get to that next level. And if that's you, then I encourage you to not look any further, but seriously commit to yourself. Okay? You got to commit to yourself. You got to put consequences behind it as well. And not just to yourself, but you got to direct it to the world. You got to post it on social media. You got to verbally tell it to your family, to your friends. You got to go live, talk about it. Tell people clearly what your intentions are, what you're going to be doing, and ask for true accountability and have rewards and consequences attached to it. If you knock this out, you're going to get an incredible reward that you naturally wouldn't give to yourself, but you're going to spoil yourself once you hit these goals because it's going to make you feel good. It's going to be a great reward. You naturally wouldn't, do those things because it's you didn't work hard enough for it, or it costs money or time or whatever the thing is, right? But once you work hard for that reward, you deserve it. And same goes on the other side. Some of us just make all these rewards behind hitting the goal versus some consequences. We should have both. If you get a bonus at the end of doing a job early or on time or, great quality, then you should also have a consequence if it goes the opposite way. Because life happens. That's okay. You should get some grace behind it. But, there should also be, if you didn't, there's no second place, third place, fifth place. It's dude, if you didn't get first, Ricky Bobby, baby, you're last. I'm just kidding. But seriously, at the end of the day, you got to realize to yourself, if it's not working out and you didn't hit your goal and it's because of you, it's because of your planning, or you didn't do what you said you were going to do and you didn't think about it properly and true accountability to yourself, then what is the consequence going to be? A real consequence, not something that you absolutely hate. Not donating to a charity that makes you feel good internally, but maybe donating to a charity that you absolutely hate, that you don't believe in, that you're totally against. Something that just irks the hell out of you, something like that. Or and it doesn't necessarily need to be, it's something that's going to be a strong pain point. It needs to be a strong pain point, just like a strong reward behind it. So I just encourage you, if enough is enough and you have some doctor reports that are negative, some health related things that are negative, some financial things that are negative from this past year, from the last 12 months for 2024, if you've acknowledged there's some negative, you're counting all the blessings and you're like, wow, this is more than I thought. Incredible. That's great. Focus on that. But also taking a moment to realize all the things that you didn't like, and then acknowledging those things and say, hey, enough is enough. I'm down to shred this stuff today. I'm down to cut this stuff up and declare it off of my life today. And then afterwards, start focusing and position yourself to what is 2025 going to look like? How bad do I truly want it? Like I was saying earlier, you can't outsource your push-ups. You got to meet halfway. You got to actually, there's no magic pill here. You're going to have to actually put in the reps. You're going to have to put in the work. But yeah, if you set yourself up for success, abs are made in the kitchen, right? So if you're eating well, if you get a nutritionist, if you get DNA tests done to know what your body does well with and what doesn't, blood tests done, if you are getting a trainer, if you're getting commitment to a certain amount of steps per day, certain amount of water per day, if you hold yourself accountable to these standards and are doing it, then you'll see the results. And it's just a matter of time. And as long as you don't give up and you just take it one day at a time, then you're going to succeed. And so there's excitement behind that. There's gratefulness behind it because there's a proven practice, a proven strategy, a proven system that truly does work. But it comes down to, like, are you going to actually put in those hours, those steps, those commitments, even on the worst days, even on the worst days that it seems nearly impossible, when you're traveling, when you're in a plane for too long, when you have kids, when you have, friends and family members or kids that are sick and you got to attend to other people. Like, are you willing to sacrifice everything else to be able to put yourself first? Because think of it like this, the old saying of, God, I know I do so many analogies. Like when you're on a plane and they always say in an emergency landing, you got to put on your mask first. You have to put on your mask first before putting it on your kids, on your loved ones, on any dependents that you have near you or next to you. Why? Because you're no good to anybody if you're not first, like, solidified and, in good spirit and shape yourself. Right? Like if you're not locked in and saved first with your mask on first, then as you're struggling with somebody else, in a matter of moments, you could be passing out too, making it more difficult for them because now you're falling over on them. Like, you understand where this goes? There's truth behind all this. And it's important to realize if you are starting to prepare yourself for the most incredible 2025 yet, you're going to have to make some real declarations in your life of what you want to see change-wise, as well as creating just vision boards. Vision boards we've been a big advocate of for the longest time. And it's because it works. And it's like you start seeing it. You take the intentional time to cut things out or write things down and really envision what 2025 is going to look like. And then so you start putting it on, your wall or your board, and you start manifesting these things. You start looking at it before you go to sleep. You start writing things down. Money comes easily, frequently, and abundantly. You say that, multiple times before bed. When you wake up in the middle of the day, you write this stuff down a dozen times. Like, this stuff helps. It does. It does. And it starts getting rid of that stinking thinking mindset and starts preparing and rewiring for breaking off generational curses and to be able to start stepping into a new space where it's really going to serve you. So I encourage vision boards. I encourage you to write out your goals. And speaking of goals, like they always say, like the 4 pillars of life, of a good life. What does that look like? They always talk about health, wealth, relationships, and spirituality. And it's like all of these are very important. All of them are extremely important. And so you got to figure out to yourself, like to have that good, balanced life, how do you dedicate the proper amount of time for each one of these categories? And how do you really succeed with it on a regular routine? Over the years, we've tried figuring out that balanced life. What the hell is a balanced life? How do you do it? And what we've realized is I don't necessarily believe in a balanced life. I don't know if it's necessarily possible. I think you have to put on the hat what is struggling at the certain time or where needs attention. And yeah, at your best moments, if you can do a little bit of everything, then that's a great season to be in. But there's going to be other certain seasons that are going to be struggling, and it's going to be difficult. It's going to be hard work, and certain areas might be failing out of those pillars, and you're going to have to jump into it and sacrifice some of the other areas. And when you do that, then what? Then, you know what I'm saying? It's like, then all the other areas start falling apart. Then you have to jump back over there and handle some of those. And that's just my personal 2 cents on it. Like, you could see your life different, and it could work and be a complete blessing by having that balanced life. For me personally, I've struggled with it, and I've tried. I've wanted to see that balanced life. And maybe over time, I'll prove myself wrong by implementing these things and being addicted and dedicated to having that balanced life. But I truly believe if you may be going through struggles with that, it may not be possible. It may not be out there, or it may not be the season for you right now. You may just need to actually put on a certain hat that's going to really serve you and figure out which one is more important to you. But understand this, like in longevity, if you don't focus on health now and you're focusing on just wealth, then you're chasing the wrong thing, because in the long run behind it, money will always come and go. But when you're 50, 60, 70 years old, 80 years old, and your body's falling apart because you treated it wrong, or you weren't getting the stretching in, the exercise, the eating healthy and wise, you weren't taking care of yourself, then, you worked yourself into a slumber, and then you're on your deathbed. Like, you're going to be wishing and praying that you did things differently and you weren't focused on the money. You were focusing on more on the time and with your loved ones, and taking care of your body so you could get more of that time. So I do encourage to focus on these 4 pillars to have your quote unquote good life, and identify that health, wealth, and relationships and spirituality, it is important, and figuring out what is important to you most, as well as breaking down some goals, adding it to your vision board, and just being extremely crystal clear on exactly what your wants and desires are. But you don't just want to pray for it. You actually want to show up. You want to participate. You want to take massive action on it, and be addicted to these goals, because what it could do for you in the next 12 months can be just life-changing in so many ways. And so if this resonates with you, if what I can tell you is this: growing up in New Jersey, broke, busted, disgusted, like Brandon Elliott, met my father when I was 18 years old in court so he could stop paying child support. Grew up with manic depressive bipolar mom that was diagnosed that for a long time. She couldn't work. She worked her butt off earlier in the year. She did the best that she absolutely could. A blessed woman to be able to raise 3 misfits. We're decent human beings, I like to think, but we all went through certain struggles, obstacles, and turbulence along the way. It's been a hell of a ride. Very blessed to be a part of, love my family to death. And I think we all desire a very strong, united family, no matter how small we are or how broken at times, or generational curses that we've been up against the wall fighting against. What I can tell you is that I desired to not be broke any longer at a very young age. I desired, I wanted quads, dirt bikes. I wanted to have games and be able to have half pipes in my I wanted to, join certain sports teams or the band and play drums or guitar or play football, but we couldn't afford all things. We grew up on Section 8. We had food stamps, powdered milk, for God's sakes. It's disgusting. Don't get me wrong. I'm not bitching or complaining here. I'm literally stating that we were American poor, okay? AKA blessed. We got handouts from local churches as well as schools during the holidays. We had friends supporting us, helping us out, as well as the church. We had rent paid from Section 8 and about $1,000 a month from Social Security from the government. But it only goes so far. You're still poor. You're still barely getting by. And so we couldn't afford a lot of the other things that my friends had in the neighborhood, which is okay. Because at a young age, it made me want to work. It made me want to hustle and grind and be able to take care of the financial obligations that I wanted and desired. It had me appreciate work ethic. It also had me to a point when I started working, realizing certain work sucks and I gotta respect my time. And I am going to want to work smarter versus working harder. And so when you're going through that, and as a young child, you hear fear around money in your household or around the kitchen table about, I don't know if rent's going to get paid this month or utilities getting turned off for certain things. It's those fears, it made me want to go outside, play basketball all the time, and always be praying when I heard a big lottery is coming around, and my mom would buy the lottery ticket. We would have some hope. I would okay, cool. Well, if we have that, then it's keep on praying that we hit the lottery. Everything's going to be changed. And then I actually started dating a girl in my area that her family, for better or worse, was labeled rich, if you will. They had their own business, had multiple businesses, growing, scaling. They had good amount of money. They had a bunch of employees, family business, and doing well. And I saw a lot of brokenness in their family as well, a lot. And sometimes even in many cases, sometimes more. Ours was really around money in our home. and some other brokenness for sure. But it was like, it just felt like it was just money. And there's drugs related, other things like that. But it was like money, I felt. In this home, there's so many other things. There's so many other things. Sometimes, like Biggie says, right? It's like more money, more problems. And so there's truth behind it, like there's more responsibility. There's more consequences. There's more things that start popping up. And it just makes it a little difficult. So at the end of the day, I wanted something so bad, I was willing to do anything for it. And at the end of the day, I just worked my butt off. I got my first job at 12. I was looking at age 9 though, and doing like picking weeds, cutting grass, certain little things like that. But got my first job at age 12 working in restaurants, and eventually a couple years later, like working 2 restaurant jobs, 80, 90 hours a week in some cases, and saving up as much as I could. In addition, I fell in love with marijuana because it made me laugh. It had some older girls, so that took me down a wrong path because I was broke. I also realized like, hey, I had to be that person. It was just natural. It was like, hey, I can't afford that, but I want to do it again. So I will get it, and then I'll have you guys pay for it, and I'll just like bum for free. And it was just natural. I don't know what the hell that was, but it was an entrepreneur wholesaling in me right from the start. Not a good thing. I'm not proud of it, but it is what it is. That's just my story. And so at the end of the day, becoming addicted to marijuana and going down a path of that, buying as much as I could with whatever money I had, selling it and taking all that money back and just keep on doubling down, double. And over a period of time, you start walking around with a ton of product. And it's taking longer to get rid of. You start building like people to get rid of it for you and so forth. And so that lifestyle is not fun. I had guns to my head, knives to my throat. I wanted to get out of that, and God had a different plan for me. And so, making hash oil, September 24th, 2013, had a big explosion in my apartment, making hash oil like a moron. I was on fire from the explosion, burnt like 40% of my body, had all the windows exploded, and I was induced into a coma. I went for a whole week. I went through 3 surgeries. I had to learn how to walk again. I got arrested a couple of weeks later after I was out of the hospital and learned how to walk again. And it was just like, it was a crazy experience that I had to fight for my freedom. And after being in jail for a couple of weeks, local jail in San Diego, then I ended up having and being scared from the whole situation. It was wild. Having the ability to get out of that, because with my personality type, I couldn't just have a little slap on the wrist. I needed something drastic to be able to change. Even though I have skin graft on my arms and it's not the sexiest thing in the world, it was the timeout that I needed to be able to, in fighting my case for 2 years, so that I didn't go back to doing what I was used to, working in restaurants, dead-end jobs, not being happy, not being fulfilled, addicted to marijuana, depressed out of all my mind, and being in negative situations with other people that had envy, jealousy, and envy against me, like the whole 9. It just wasn't beneficial. That's how guns to my head, knives to my throat took place. It's like, it's not the lifestyle that you want or I was proud of. I thought about my sister's kids and my nephew and nieces, and I was like, that is embarrassing if they even find out or hear about this stuff. And it like choked me up. I was like, I don't want, like when I have kids eventually, I don't want to have to tell them these stories. And so I knew that I had to change my life. And that's where I fell in love with real estate. But I also realized I was broke. I didn't have, I was doing door-to-door sales, Kirby vacuum cleaners. I did well at that. I got recruited into a real estate investment company. I saw all the systems in place. I saw how much money was being made, about $600,000 per month. It was incredible. At 300, in 1 week or 2. And it's like just saving these homes from pre-foreclosures, helping out a lot of people. It got me inspired, and it got me addicted to seeing that process and the possibilities. And so I went down a rabbit hole, 2 full years, 4 hours every single day, all the books, podcasts, YouTube, to be able to get more information, more education so that I could confidently and boldly take action on it. But there was one big problem. I needed cash. I need cash money to be able to close on real estate deals. And I didn't know anybody would lend to me or anything like that. And they probably wouldn't. But at the end of the day, I figured out, how do I get credit And because I had a really cheap mindset, how do I get it at 0%? So I figured out how to get this. I had to get a massive amount of credits and getting up to $500,000 with interest rates as low as 0% and something that could actually have the potential to be repeated per person every 6 months. With cleaning up your credit, making sure you don't have any hard inquiries on there as you go, and like being able to liquidate cards into cash and be able to take down more territory. That's exactly what I became addicted to. I learned when there's a will, there's a way. I've always had that philosophy. I have it on my mug here, my Credit Accounts Elite, a Yeti. And I just realized, like, at the end of the day, when there's a will, there's a way. I was willing to fail. I was willing to put all on the line to actually just give it a shot, just to give it an attempt. And I was willing to do it for a while. I told myself, like, even if I fail at this, it's got to be better than what I've been through. It's got to be better than what's going on. It's got to be able to give me some kind of fulfillment or something. At least I won't have to look over my shoulder anymore. At least I can say, well, at least I did it. So the worst case scenario really wasn't that bad to me. And I was willing to lose and just get in because I stayed on the sidelines wanting to do this for 2 years, 4 hours every single day while working 2 restaurant jobs full time. Enough was enough. I was like, I'm ready. And so I found out how to get massive amounts of credit, several $100,000, very affordable interest rates, aka 0%, not a bad gig. How to get protection with cards, how to actually liquidate cards into cash, how to get business credit, personal credit, how to fix credit, how the banks and lenders are judging you. We have a list of over 45 different metrics at Credit Accounts Elite. We show you 45 different metrics on how these banks and lenders are judging you, so you know how to play the game. See, this is how the game works, ladies and gentlemen. See, the people, we give all of our money to the banks. That's where you have your money right now. You don't have it underneath your mattress. You have it in the banks right now. And how much percentage are they giving you back? I mean, you're lending them all this money. They're giving you 0.00 nothing percent back, basically. They're giving you next to nothing. Every $1 million you're putting in there, they're giving you about $1 or $2 back. It's absolutely nothing. It's pathetic. And with that being said, afterwards, they're lending it out how many times over? It's actually 9 times over. They're lending out the money that you gave them at 0%. You and me gave our money to them 0% interest. So they're paying nothing back. And then they lend it back to us 9 times over for personal loans, auto loans, mortgages, business loans, cars, credit cards, like you name it. Student loans, that they are lending it back to us 9 times over. And they're averaging anywhere from 500 to 3,000%. It's incredible. They are putting this to work. And they get all these fees. They're collecting billions upon billions and billions of dollars. And success leaves clues. So what we figured out is exactly how they're judging you. The bank's goal is to lend money. That's what they do. They have to lend money so that they stay in business. The thing is, they have rules, algorithms. They have ways that they're looking for low risk, and they have systems in place to be able to calculate it off of all the data that they have for how many years. It's incredible. So therefore, there is a science behind how they're judging you. And they're not openly telling you some of these things, but trust me when I tell you, we've cracked the code. We have it. We have it dialed in, and we have 45 different metrics on exactly how they're judging you and how to play the game. So now it's like real life Monopoly. When you go around the board, and you pass go, you weren't collecting your $200 like you should. Now we're showing you this is exactly how you play the game. There's rules to it, and you got to understand it before you start asking banks so that you're not walking in with frustration. Instead, you're getting a 90% approval odds with the best interest, the best terms, the best conditions, and you're getting the highest limits possible. And that's exactly what we do at Credit Accounts Elite. We're teaching business owners or people that are looking to start a business or people that are in their 9-to-5 that desperately want to get out of it and start diversifying, growing and scaling and getting the capital that they need to be able to succeed. And so if that's you and you haven't actually sat down with us yet at Credit Accounts Elite, you are missing out. Point blank, that's it. You are going to want to stop what you're doing right now and go to our website, creditcounselelite.com. That's creditcounselelite.com. and stop missing out any further. Like, there's a quick 10-minute video on there that explains more about what the heck we do at Credit Counsel Elite in detail, answers a ton of your questions that you're going to start having. But in addition, it will actually prepare you for better questions that you can jump on a quick call with either myself, which I'm willing to jump on for anybody that needs more clarity behind this, because I'm passionate about serving you and showing you that this truly works and it truly can be your 3 feet from gold. It can be life-changing if you meet us halfway and implement this stuff, and we'll hold you accountable and we give you satisfaction. Like, we will sit with you until you get these results, because we know it works and it's just a matter of time. So we're not going anywhere. Satisfaction guaranteed. And at the end of the day, this stuff can be incredibly life-changing for you if you implement it. And so if you haven't actually understood this or taken a look at what the heck we do, I encourage you to do that. Sit down with either me afterwards, DM us, but you'll be able to book a call with one of our assessment coaches that have been trained up by me to understand the process, that have gone through the process, that understand exactly how to best serve you and get this full intention so that you can get massive amounts of funding. We call it a mass apply when you apply for anywhere from 10 to 40 plus applications from banks within a 30 to 45 day time frame, getting a 90% approval odds, the highest limits, even free cash from sign-up bonuses. It can be incredible. Anywhere from $5,000 to $17,000 plus in new funding, like new capital, new free cash in points converted into cash or even used for travel hacking. We show you all of this at Credit Counsel Elite. And so this is how I've been able to get to over $14 million in real estate assets. Just bought a real estate property the other day that I signed for just 2 nights ago that will be closing. It will be recorded and closed on the day this actually goes live. So that's cool. But trust me when I tell you, there's opportunities out there. And if you're tired of missing out on them, this is your opportunity. This is the next one that you do not want to miss out on. Seriously. You have nothing to lose, so much to gain. I encourage you to treat yourself to having the most incredible 2025 of your life. Seriously. And what it could do for you in a very short time frame, just like it did for me and just like it's done for thousands of other members within Credit Counsel Elite. It could blow your socks off in such a magnificent way. And I pray that finds you well today. I pray that you take action on it. And I pray that regardless, whatever you've been through the last 12 months, that there is a big shift in prosperity and growth for you and your family in the next 12 months to come. So I love you guys all so much. I appreciate you jumping on and staying on with us to the very end. If you haven't already subscribed to Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast, what are you waiting for? Right now is the time. Do that right here, right now. It would mean the world to me, and absolutely love you guys. Hit that subscribe button. You'll get the newest notification every single Monday when the new episode drops. After listening to a few episodes, leave that 5-star review, and yeah, DM us on Instagram. If you're not following us, Credit Counsel Elite on Instagram, just DM me on there. Let me know that you subscribed, you checked out the show. And let me know where you guys are coming in from. And then same thing on my personal IG for Brandon Elliott Investments. Would love to message you and get in the DMs over there, okay? Love you guys all so much. Have a blessed New Year's. Be safe out there. Be intentional. IPAs, it's income producing activities. Focus on those, not the drinks, all right? And I love you guys all so much. Enjoy your New Year's, and let's make 2025 the best year yet. All right, guys, stay blessed. Talk soon. Peace.
This has been another episode of Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast, brought to you by Brandon Elliott. For more information, please visit BrandonElliottInvestments.com. Also, please don't forget to like, share, and leave a comment below. Thanks again for joining. Until next time, God bless.